Yes, indeed. Welcome into another episode of Total Hockey Now, episode 74. Not Rip and Riff, as some of the graphics may have indicated in the past. I am at Puckline Thoughts, Adam Bernard. The man to my left, which is now a D pairing today, not a three-headed line here, at Fuzzy Chris 91, Christopher Merez, our pal Ant Rivera, becoming a dad this week, so congrats to him. And he is attending to newborn dad responsibilities.
That's it. We gotta do the best that we can today to play defensively. That's not my strong suit. Nobody will ever look at me and go, wow, Chris is a great defender 5-on-5. But look, I'm gonna do my best to turn myself into maybe not like Cale Makar, but I don't know, maybe like a Travis Hamonic, something of that sort.
You want to play the left side or the right side?
Left. I'm a lefty, so I got to play the left side. I can't play my offside and on defense. No, ain't no way.
That's fine. I'm a natural on my right side. That's fine. I could play either side. I'll play right. You play left, and away we go. Total Hockey Now here. We got like we said, Ant will be back when he's back. Hope everybody's going well over there. And definitely a lot to get to today. Definitely a lot of things to talk about. First thing we do want to get into here, though. Last night's Kings Flames game was postponed, obviously, due to everything going on with the multiple wildfires in Southern California. Tonight's Lakers Hornets game has been postponed. The NFL has a contingency plan in place to move the Rams Vikings Monday night wild card game to Glendale, Arizona, if they need to, which even if the fires are nowhere near Englewood, they really have to worry about air quality, because you can't obviously have wildfire smoke, because even if even if the smoke is off in the distance, and I say this as somebody who lives in Northern California, I've had to evacuate twice myself due to wildfires. You're not going to go into all the details, but luckily both times everything was fine, but it is a harrowing experience. And even when fires are far away, if the winds are blowing a certain way, they can really wreak havoc on the overall air quality. So I don't know if the NFL moves the game. Regardless of that, anybody that's affected, we're thinking about you. And, Kings players, Ducks players, team personnel, all that, hockey fans, just in general, anybody that's affected, we're thinking about you at Total Hockey Now, and try maybe a distraction while you're, for whatever reason, you need it. So we'll get to the headlines now. And then, let's start. We started there. Let's talk about, we still have another game to go this year with the outdoor games, but the NHL did announce that the 2 outdoor games for next year, and we know they're going to be the Winter Classic on January 2nd, which I guess they're avoiding the college football playoffs again on the 1st, so that's why they go to the 2nd there. Will be the Panthers and the Rangers at Lone Depot Park, which is the Marlins home stadium. And then about a month later, on February 1st, the Lightnings are going to host the Bruins in the Stadium Series game at Raymond James Stadium, where the Buccaneers play. So for me, on one hand, we got 2 teams we don't normally see in outdoor games a lot in Florida, but then we get 2 road opponents who are no strangers to the outdoor games. Both have played in 5, and depending upon how things go with the current trajectory of the Bruins or the Rangers, you do run the risk here of both opponents, we'll say, being subpar.
Well, good on the NHL for not doing it on the 31st. They should still be doing it on the 1st. But I mean, we're getting, small steps here, Gary. Let's work our way here. Good for them bringing it to a different market. Not sure how they're going to produce ice in Southern Florida, but pretty excited to see how that goes. If I'm not mistaken, the Marlins play indoors, don't they?
It's a retractable roof stadium. So
it's almost the same. And it'll be good. The weather will be great. So probably, I don't think the Marlins Park has ever been that full. So maybe that'll be a first there. Marlins fans can see what it's like to have a full stadium. And I would have liked the NHL to do like Florida versus Tampa Bay. Like, I feel like that's what everybody wanted. And the NHL was like, no, we need to make sure that we get some teams that have already been here a bunch, because we've seen that has really helped the ratings. So they're like, hey, let's bring the Rangers in, because we got to get some type of northern team so you can care about it. And I guess the Stadium Series is fine. It's another outdoor game. Nothing wrong with the Bruins being there for, again, the 5th time. I'm sure they'll get another chance. It's not all terrible. It's just not great. I would say it's like a B-. Like, it's better than what we had. The Hawks are not going back, so we've made progress, but still not where it needs to be.
And I understand you get a lot of snowbirds from the Northeast, especially from Boston and New York that go down to Florida. So you're trying to capitalize on. There are absolutely Ranger fans that are going to get on a plane to go to this game. Same thing for Bruins fans. Spend the New Year in Florida or February if you're going to the Lightning Bruins game. But I get it. But I do agree. Like a Florida Tampa, having those two face off in one of the, whether you want to pick Tampa or the Miami Marlins park, and then have like a different matchup for the Stadium Series game. Like, like that's to me, like where you work in like the Columbus Blue Jackets of the world who rarely get to host one in a venue like the Shoe in Columbus in Ohio, I should say. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's only so much you can really talk about it until you see how the Bruins and the Rangers are playing next season. But kudos for going outside the box and people can be like how they're going to make ice in Florida and all that stuff. Hopefully they don't have some random heat wave that screws with the quality of the ice because that's never a good look. But like you said, B-. It's not terrible. They were doing some stuff right. Maybe some of it's a little bit retread kind of, but B-. They got a good grade, not a great grade.
They should have just done Florida and the Montreal Canadiens. Like there's first of all, there's already a ton of us in Florida, right? Like you can walk anywhere and to the if you're from Quebec, right? If you can hear a lot of French speaking in Florida. You're like, man, I'm just trying to get away from it. Because then you could have sold tickets for like $4,000 and with the exchange rate, that's like 280,000. There's probably some people who would have bought it. I would have at least been in the queue to see how much it costs. And then consider do I actually need 2 kidneys? But
you only need one. We
that's
know
true.
that.
You only need one, right? I mean, I have an extra one. I don't know.
You seem like you're in relatively good health, but going down to 1 kidney wouldn't really be that detrimental.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's not. Maybe they'll be like, "Hey, Chris, you can't physically exert yourself as much as before." And I'm like, "Oh, don't worry, I'm not back checking, so it's fine, right?" So I feel like that was an opportunity. I don't remember the last time a Canadian team was part of a Winter Classic. I know that the Montreal Canadiens were part of it in 2016 in Gillette because I was there, but I don't remember the last time a Canadian team was in one.
So then you had Toronto, Detroit at the Big House not too long before that. I don't remember what the exact year was, but that was before that. I'm pulling up the list right now. So let's see. So yeah, we got Vegas, Seattle, St. Louis, Chicago. Yeah, the last Canadian team to be involved was your Montreal Canadiens in that Gillette Stadium game that you went to. And then 2 years before that was Leafs Red Wings. So
man, it's 9 years ago, Gary. Come on. It's time we put another Canadian team in there. And look, all of those Canadian teams, with the exception of Ottawa, of course, are at least competitive. So
hey, Ottawa's still in a playoff spot as of today. But yeah, I mean, or maybe they haven't announced a Heritage Classic as far as I know for next year, right? So there's no plans to put, maybe they're waiting on that and going to have 2 Canadian teams doing battle there.
I would like them to do it in Montreal. The problem is we don't have a venue that can hold that many people. So that's the kind of thing that sets us back. But I mean, again, host it somewhere else in Canada. There's a whole bunch of CFL stadiums that can host, right? Winnipeg can do it. Edmonton obviously can do it. Yes. In Vancouver as well, if you want. I'll go somewhere there. That'd be fine. Do a little.
That stadium couldn't host the Winter Classic?
No, not at all. Percival Molson is not big enough. I think it holds 20,000 people, which is just it's nowhere near where you need it to be. Like in Edmonton, I'm not sure what their stadium is called. They can hold probably 60 plus. Same thing, I think, in Winnipeg. They can host 60 plus. Calgary as well. Percival Molson is just not. It's not big enough. You'd have to charge a ridiculous amount, which I'm sure some people would pay. But yeah, it's probably not the match. Maybe they could do it in Toronto. I just don't know if they could retract the roof at where the Jays play. I also don't know about the experience. I feel like the experience is better at a football field just for the way it's constructed, right? So, and also I wouldn't want to open the roof there where the Jays play and have that thing get stuck, and then how are you going to close it? That thing is.
Or it gets stuck in a way where the sun is now screwing with the sight lines or a spot on the rink. Yeah.
I don't think it's built like that. So just, I don't know, put it somewhere. I'm sure there's a place in Winnipeg.
And you're right. Football stadiums lend themselves much better to these things because of the fact that it's, you're placing a 200-foot rink and everything even proportioned and all the sight lines are pretty similar all around the building. Whereas baseball, I went to the one at Citizens Bank Park in Philly, which is a bandbox. So I lucked out that that's a smaller baseball stadium. So you're a little closer. But yeah, the vantage points are all over the place. And yeah, football stadium is the way to go. And you can usually cram more people into a football stadium than you can into a baseball stadium. So
hockey related revenue is important. So
sure is. So there we go. We'll talk outdoor games more, next season as they approach. But big news is they did announce them this week. Speaking of the Rangers, Igor Shesterkin is back tonight against the Devils. This is probably one of the Rangers' last chances to, maybe have something to build momentum off of. Like, hey, we got Igor back. Offense has looked a little bit better the last couple games. They have won a few. To me tonight, this is either a hard-fought win over the Devils, or the Devils just blow them out of the water again, like 5-1. So we'll see how that goes there.
I could care less about who wins this game. I just know that I have money on Jack Hughes' goal because, Hughes loves to torment Ranger fans, and I'm not crying about it. He's got 4 in 2 games this year, and he's got a bunch of points as well. So I'm okay with Jack tormenting the Rangers again tonight.
He absolutely gets his jollies off of beating the Rangers, and he's already good at it. And he's already consistent at it at this point in his career. So I have a feeling that's something that there was like a 10-year stretch where just Marty Brodeur beat the Rangers, and it didn't matter. And I think we're going into a 10-year stretch with Jack Hughes just probably in 4 or 5 divisional matchups a season. Right now it's 4. He's going to score in probably 3 of those 4 games every time, if not all 4.
Again, we're just rooting for Jack here. The one goal if it finishes 1-0 Devils, great. If it finishes 6-5, could care less. I need Jack tonight. I need him because the Colorado Avalanche owe me lunch money, by the way, from their performance yesterday. All of that whole group, some of them owe me lunch money.
Yeah, I understand Trent Miner's in net for the first time, but yeah, maybe a better showing against the lowly Blackhawks, and that would have been nice. But nonetheless, let's use the Rangers to transition to the Canucks, because earlier this week, apparently a Mika Zibanejad or JT Miller 1-for-1 trade was rejected by the Canucks. So this, of course, leads us into the saga going on between Elias Pettersson and JT Miller. This is only coming to an end in one way. Somebody's getting traded, right? Like, there's no way that there's no kumbaya here. There's no locking them in a room together and saying, figure it out. This is past that. Pettersson's got a no-move clause that kicks in July 1st. So is it as simple as saying that JT Miller is the heartbeat of this team? Pettersson's underperforming. He's on the worst pace of his career, one of the worst paces of his career. He's got to go, even if that means you take 85 cents on the dollar for what you're getting back. That's not to say he's going to be a bust, and he can't be a notch. He won't get back to being an elite player, but the situation can't stay the way it is.
I thought it was very bold of Chris Drury to just call up Alvin and be like, hey, if I send you Mika Zibanejad for JT Miller, will you say yes? Because I want to know how quickly that call ended. I can't I feel like if you put that in the NHL, 2025, I think is out. If you put that in the trade simulator, I'm pretty sure the computer rejects it immediately as not even close. So I can't imagine a scenario where I get that feels like one of those trades that you get in fantasy hockey where the owners just try to get a conversation going, and you're like, buddy, my thing is I don't even reject it. I just leave it there and hope it goes away. Because I'm not even taking the time to open the Yahoo app, click on it, press reject. Unless I have something witty to say, then I'll put it in there. But if not, I just leave it there, and I could care less. That was not. I can't imagine that conversation lasted very long. But kudos, I guess, for trying, Drury. Right, full send there.
I don't fault them for trying, but I agree when it comes to certain fantasy trades, there are trades you make that to get a conversation going, and then there are trades you make that it's like you said, either I just let him sit, or my response is, if the tables were turned, would you please explain why you would do this trade? Thank you.
That's a good way to hit the voicemail next time, or the secretary. You know what I mean? That's not it. I do agree with you. It feels like there's a divorce coming here. And it's unfortunate, but JT Miller has probably the better value right today. But I do think if you can get Elias Pettersson for cheaper, that's the guy I would try to get. I don't think he is. I think he's somewhere in between how terrible he is and that one good season that he had. Yes. I feel like he's somewhere in the middle there. I feel like maybe JT Miller's the problem. Like, I don't know. I feel like maybe just, I get that he's a fierce competitor and he expects the best out of everybody, and all that stuff is fun. But maybe he's the problem, and I don't know if I want to keep the problem around.
So what you're saying is the problem is maybe JT's a little too intense versus EP being a lot more, we'll say, relaxed, and that's maybe rubbing people, because that's the thing. We're not going to hear another. You're not going to get like an inkling into like which way is the Canucks locker room leaning. Which guy would they keep? Which, you know, like there's probably guys that would rather JT stay, and there's probably guys that would rather Pettersson stays. So
Probably.
either way, you're going to make somebody. Either way, you're going to make probably half the locker room unhappy.
But I feel like you could maybe turn things around with Pettersson, because like, what are the odds that JT Miller just rubs another young player the wrong way? You know, like that's how I see it. I just think JT Miller's value is probably higher, so that's probably the player I'd want to maximize the most, right? He can play center, he can play the wing. He's very fiery. He wants to win, which is a good thing, right? You want guys who want to win, yes. But if your pursuit of that makes other people miserable, well, you know, like, it's one thing to be competitive, but I don't know. I would probably move Miller. But if I'm calling about Pettersson, and I'm trying to see if I can get him at a discount.
Got a few guys checking in here on the topic here. State of Survival saying move JT. He's too old. JT Miller is the guy that has pride. The rest of the team is soft. Well, I lean more towards what State of Survival is saying, but that can sometimes rub younger players the wrong way if it's too much, and it's all the time. Like, there's a time to be like, guys, let's go, blah, blah, blah. And there's a time where you take your foot off the gas just a tiny bit. And if you don't, that can become a grating over time. That, like, to me, that can be worse than like having a guy that's like too chill and like, okay, like, you can always ramp that guy up a little bit, but it's harder to bring the guy who's always intense down a notch. So, and he wants to know what we think about the Zibs offer for JT Miller. We just talked about that a couple of minutes ago. You have to scroll back there, but
terrible. That's the short answer. If you don't want, not great. We're not good.
We applaud the effort for Drury, but I don't think he was getting any sort of response there. A couple other guys checking in here. Gino's here, your arch enemy. Happy New Year. And so Chris is not going to be thrilled about the Happy New Year on January 9th. Of course, congrats, Anthony. And of course, Anthony's brother checking in. Got your text about a trade that we're potentially working out. So we're not going to really go too deep into that. And yes, congrats to his bro on Anthony becoming a god. Welcome to No Sleep. Ain't that the truth? Well, I don't want to be like one of those people that give out parenting advice unsolicited. But the one thing I will say, if you are about to become a new dad or a parent in general, you are going to do more dishes the first few weeks after that kid is born than you have probably done in your entire life.
Real happy that Gene's here. Gene, do you want to give me Kaprizov in any way? Can you let's not make this a Zib for JT Miller kind of offer, but if you're willing to let him go, I know he's hurt, but I mean, I'm trying to see if I can buy low here. So I'm just stating it now, just here, just letting you know.
At some point you start to look desperate. I'm just gonna.
I'm there. I'm there. I'm just trying. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to see how much would it cost? You know what I mean? Like, how maybe I sell the kidney to Gene instead. Like, do you need a kidney? Or does somebody in your family need a kidney? I'm all positive, by the way, in case that ups the value.
Vital information you have to put out.
Vital, right? So I don't know. Maybe somebody needs a kidney for Kirill. I'll do it.
Who's paying for the surgery though?
Oh, it's so in Canada it's free. So you don't have to.
There you go.
You don't have to worry about it.
You got to get the kidney to him, and that's not FedEx is not going to do that overnight, especially to where Gene lives. That's going to be interesting.
You don't think FedEx would ship body parts?
To get a body part from Ontario to Australia logistically and have it still be okay by the time it gets there. I'm not sure what the shelf life on these things is, but I think that might be a little too long. I don't know.
Maybe. I will let it slide though that you said Ontario, even though I live in Quebec. Like, that's fine. We'll let it. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. Maybe I just ask FedEx, just hypothetically. You know what I mean? Like, see if they're like Q&A, or maybe like reach out to one of their customer service reps. Be like, hey, if I wanted to ship a kidney legally, like
I was
how
gonna say
much
that
would it
won't
cost?
trigger anything. Hey, if I wanted to ship an organ, like how do I go about that?
I mean, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Let's something like that. I don't know. I'm sure you're right. It would probably trigger some people. But I mean, I'll give them the backstory. Be like, hey, have you guys heard of Kirill Kaprizov?
Well, apparently, luck might be in your hands here because he's in Montreal for the Four Nations. Let's talk over a beer. So it might have to
Nice.
do a little offline coordination here.
Very nice. Gee, do you have tickets too? Can I sell? I can't. No, I can't. Whatever. I can't sell both kidneys. I need one.
All of a sudden, Kirill, now that there's a ticket possibility, kidney might be going for tickets. That might be all out the window now.
Damn. I'm just trying to find someone who's got reasonably priced tickets to one of these Four Nation Cups. But so far, I might need to sell a kidney and a liver. I would probably sell a liver because a liver can regenerate.
You can sell a piece of your liver.
Yeah, I can sell a piece. Maybe that's the way to go. Maybe a piece of the liver for Kirill and a kidney for one of the Four Nations shots. But I can definitely take you up on the beer, Gene. We'll get some nice, good stuff here.
Just remember, if you give up the kidney, you can't drink as much beer. So just remember that,
That's a problem down the road. Cross that bridge when we get there.
Understood. All right, let's get back on the ice here. So we talked a little Canucks controversy there. Now let's talk about the Minnesota Wild. They get some beneficial and bad blue line news within 24 hours. They got Jake Middleton back from a 10-game absence from an upper body injury, but they lose Brock Faber to a upper body injury after an elbow from Jake Neighbors. They were already without Jared Spurgeon, who was expected to be out for another week. They've been without your boy Kaprizov for 7 games and counting with a lower body injury. But yet, the Wild are still in second place in the Central Division. They really haven't lost any ground. They're only 2 points behind Winnipeg. They got a 5-point cushion over Dallas and Colorado. Dallas does have 2 games in hand. But, I mean, to me, this is, if you're a Wild fan, as much as it stinks right now that you're dealing with all these injuries, and maybe games aren't going the way you are, but it is encouraging that they haven't really lost that much ground in what's arguably the toughest division in the league.
Yeah, it's definitely impressive because that Central Division is that's a battle. Like, one of those teams there is going to be a wild card team when they could probably win another. Like, if they were in any other division, they probably win it. Like, if they were in the Metro, they would probably end up winning it. Any of those 4 teams that are there. So that's definitely something. I think for Minnesota, it's kind of like just trying to survive now. Just try to get through, wait till some bodies come back, and then keep going, right? I know it's not ideal, but again, they're scoring goals, which is good. They get a matchup tonight with Colorado, and I have Minnesota. I think Minnesota can win it. Colorado is playing a back-to-back nights, the 3rd game in 4 nights. Colorado on the road, not the same as playing at home. So I mean, the Wild just go out there and do their thing. I don't know, man. To me, they're okay. They're okay. I'm not panicking. It's not ideal, but like you said, they don't ask you how you win. They ask you at the end of the year, how many do you have? So as long as Minnesota picks up wins, go for it.
I do like the under 6 in that game for, especially with Colorado coming off, playing on a back-to-back. You got Gustafsson going, you got Blackwood going, so we'll see how that matchup ends up. But yeah, Minnesota just, at the beginning you wonder, like, is this team for real? Or is this like an early season team that's going to fade back into like the 3rd spot or in the wild? No, they're a fixture, I think, in the top 3 for the Central the rest of the way here, barring any other major injuries that take them down. So we'll see how the Wild do tonight against the Avalanche. Quick update on Alexander Ovechkin, what I like to call now our Ovechkin odometer. After last night's game, no goals, but he sits at night. He sits currently 23 away from breaking the record. There are 41 games remaining in the season, so still very possible that we see him break the record this year. My chance at seeing history on March 16th is 21 games away, or 15th, whatever it is, in San Jose. So I don't know if I'm going to be seeing history, but I think I could hope for a goal in the 890s somewhere. I think that's where I can, maybe like an 890, 891, maybe I get around, but I don't think I'm going to be seeing history.
Yeah, I'm like, I want him to do it as quickly as possible, obviously for him. I'd also wouldn't mind if he waited till next year and then the schedule came out and then I could, like, if he could wait till he's in Montreal to do that. I feel like when he breaks it, especially if he breaks it in Montreal. Like, we saw Ovi how he partied when he won a Stanley Cup. Like, and I'm sure he would. Maybe they stay the night. Maybe Washington is like, hey, we'll fly out the next morning because why not? If Ovi breaks it here, I feel like I would like to see that history. But if he breaks it before, great. But I'm just saying, for selfish purposes, just circle it against Montreal.
I mean, that was the reason I bought the tickets in March. I mean, I'm going to be taking my daughter anyway because we needed something. Wanted to go to. She wanted, after going to one game, she wanted to go back. So I've planted the seed and it's growing. So that's good. But yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Of course, like I've joked around with you guys on the group text, Ovechkin will be one away, power play. It'll be on my end of the rink, face off. Daddy, I gotta pee. That's what's going to happen to me. And I'm going to be in the family bathroom and I'm going to hear the building erupt and I'm going to be like, yep, there it is.
It's only fitting, right?
I will at least be able to say I was in the building, even if I wasn't at my seat. Still applicable. So it still has I used to be able to say at least I have the ticket stub. You don't even get that anymore.
You don't even get those, yeah.
You don't even have that anymore. And finally, before we get on to we take a look at the Eastern Conference wildcard 2 spot again, because there's been some drastic movement with 2 of the teams. Stat nugget, and not one I like. We were just talking about the Sharks. The Vegas Golden Knights are 14-0-3 in San Jose since the franchise's inception. The 17-game road point streak is the 5th longest in NHL history. The Sharks have hosted the Golden Knights twice already this season, so they're not going to get a chance to snap that until next year. I've personally been to 2 of those games in that 17-game streak. So yeah, it's that's not something you want to. I mean, right now, if they are the big brother, the Sharks are the little brother in that rivalry.
I mean, I'm not shocked at that number. You know what I mean? Like, the Sharks have not been good now for a minute. Vegas has been nothing but good since they showed up. So I think that streak will be like, it will continue for at least one more year. Like, I feel like at least the first game next year that they face off in San Jose, it's probably going to be an L.
I think at some point, if you're maybe not this year, your rookie year, but next year, Celebrini, if I'm the captain for that first Vegas game, I'm like getting my team amped up. Like, enough of the shit, enough of them beating us in this building, or us not beating them and ever getting 2 points against them. That stops today. That's the approach they need to take. But one thing at a time here. Let's see how the rest of the season goes for the Sharks. So there we go. That's quick hits here. Appreciate everybody tuning in, whether you're watching live or on a replay. Don't forget, follow, rate, subscribe, review at Total Hockey Now on X, Facebook, YouTube. Those are all the spots for us. But let's take a look here at the Eastern Conference wild card race for the second spot. And like we've established, with the 4 teams in the Atlantic, the Lightning, the Bruins, Panthers, and the Leafs. We're probably going to have those top 4 spots. Carolina, Devils, Washington, and the Metro. And then that last wild card spot. Just in the last week, though, looking here, you see how the percentages and odds have changed. The Ottawa's lost a few games there now. You could see how that's changed a little there. They've gone up to a 66.1% chance to make the playoffs. But the Detroit Red Wings right now have won 5 in a row since Todd McClellan took over. The Habs are 8-2 in their last 10. That includes road victories at Colorado, Vegas, Tampa Bay, and Florida. One of the things I tweeted before the show is that my prediction that the Red Wings are going to finish dead last in the Atlantic is starting to not look so hot. First of all, let's talk about your Canadiens here. I mean, we're waiting for the other shoe to drop in terms of them reality setting back in, but that's not the case right now.
I mean, the Habs are a wagon. I don't know how else to explain it. This team is just cooking right now. They're feeling good. They're winning games, even though Line is out of the lineup. He's got a flu. David Savard's not healthy as well. Dobes coming up has definitely solidified Montreal's ability to not play Sam Montembeault every single night. He is also confirmed to get the start Friday, tomorrow, in Washington. So another tough one. I would have liked for him to play at home just to give the fans something there. This is another tough matchup for him. He's got to go on the road. Washington's a really good team. It's tough. But right now, the Montreal Canadiens are cooking. Obviously the Ottawa Senators are not very good. They are frauds. Let's just be honest here. They're not going to make the playoffs. I did have them making the playoffs at the beginning of the year. I still feel like that bet is good. They went on a little bit of a win streak, but again, like there's no Linus Ullmark. We don't know when he's coming back. Anton Forsberg is not the solution. This team is not good enough defensively to figure it out. I am also not buying the success of the Detroit Red Wings. Like good. They played better. But that is also smoke here. It's not good. This is a facade by the Rangers. They're not by the Red Wings. Yes. They are not good enough. They're just not good enough. I don't look at that lineup and think that they're good enough.
Well, listen, the lineup really hasn't changed. It's still a mediocre at best lineup, but there is something to be said about Todd McClellan being a respected voice who has had the career he's had versus a Derek Lalonde. Like, to me, like when you still have guys in your locker room like Tarasenko and Patrick Kane, guys that have been around the block, guys that have won cups, they don't want they won't outwardly say it, but like deep down, they're not respecting a guy like Derek Lalonde unless he's somebody that they've had a connection with that was an assistant when they were at an earlier point in their career. They want to play for established guys that have, cachet, guys that have, credence, like a guy like McClellan. I mean, I don't think there's always a boost when a new coach comes in. I mean, if you're somebody that bets, like coaching change, you're almost, depending upon the dynamics, but if it's not a coach that the team really loved and now they're going to be bummed, you almost always bet on the team with the new coach that first game because they get a boost. This is now 5 games. I don't know if this is a boost anymore or if this is actual philosophical changes in the locker room, making the Red Wings, I'm not going to say a playoff team. I mean, right now it doesn't look too bad for that last spot. I think they fade ultimately, but I think they are going to be a better and tougher team here over the next 2 to 3 months.
I feel like they're for January. If you look at the teams that they beat Columbus, and I know Columbus has played better. It's still the Columbus Blue Jackets. They beat Winnipeg, which is credit to them. They went out, they did what they needed to do. They beat the Senators because most teams beat the Senators, and they have some games coming up that are going to be a little bit easier here. They get the Hawks on Friday, so that's probably a win. They get then Seattle on Sunday, if I believe. Seattle is going to be a good matchup. It might be a little bit tough. They get San Jose then on the Tuesday, I believe. Yes. So another one. Then they go on a 4-game road trip. They got the Panthers, they got the Lightning, then they got the Stars, and they got the Flyers. Those are 3 of those 4 teams are legitimate. I'll let you guess which one is not. Then they have a date with the Montreal Canadiens, so that's an L. And then they got to play Tampa Bay, the LA Kings, and the Edmonton Oilers on the road. So that back half of that schedule is not that's not great here. So they have to beat the teams that they should beat, which again, I don't think they're that team yet. And then they got some really tough matchups where I don't think they have the depth. They don't have the goaltending. They most certainly don't have the blue line to do it. So maybe for now they look good, but I believe that they are frauds. That they are not it. Coaching change may have helped, gave them a little bit, like you said, little boost, little pep. But they are basically frauds. They are the Washington Capitals of last season. Yeah, that's it. It's just their redesign now that there's a wheel and it's red.
So your pick right now would be the Canadiens for that 8th spot, and you're in no way a homer influencing that pick.
Not absolutely not. I know some people are going to say it. I you can leave a comment in the comment section, but Montreal has a really good top 6. Okay. They have the best 4th line in hockey right now. I mean, Jake Evans, Emil Heineman, and Yoel Armia are cooking. They are they're wrecking havoc. You have Lane Hudson, who is a stud, an absolute beast on wheels. And then you have two goalies, 2 good goalies. I know Samuel Montembeault has gotten you here, so we got to give him some respect, right? And then Dobes coming in and solidifying that backup spot. This whole team is better, and they're feeling good about themselves. Again, they have a whole second half of the season to go. But if you would have told me that the Montreal Canadiens would be in a hunt for a playoff spot in January, right, midway through the season, first of all, I would have said, yeah, I expected them to take a step and be somewhere here anyways. So they are executing the plan as they should. Now we just got to see if they can continue it. Now you got the second half. Games get harder. those little bumps and bruises, they become more problemsome. We just need people to stay healthy, play well. You're not going to win every game, but play a lot better. This team is getting better in certain aspects. Continue. They are better than the Senators. They are better than the Red Wings. There's no two ways around it.
So let's go back to Columbus for a second, because now they're without Sean Monahan. We don't know how long he's going to be out, but he is on the IR now, so it's going to be at least 3 more games here. And that's a guy. Yes, Columbus has been playing better, but Monahan has been the stir. I know Marchenko's having a hell of a year, but Monahan has been a huge playmaker for them and is having a great year. So taking him out of that lineup, I think, is going to have an impact there, because obviously it's going to, but you look at their center depth down the middle, and now it's Adam Fantilli, Sean Corrali, Cole Sillinger. There's not a lot down the middle right now. So, that's a team, maybe a fade here for a little bit until Monahan gets back. To go, that's not a team that, like we said, last week would be a great story, but I don't think they're really in the mix for that. Well, right now they sit as the wild card 2. The Ottawa Senators, or, there's Penguins we don't believe in, Ottawa we don't believe in, the Rangers, there's still a chance they can surge here. Let's see what happens here in the coming weeks. But yeah, it's a kind of murky for that second wild card spot in the East, but we're starting to see which teams are actually going to maybe be competitive here come March for it.
I like the Columbus Blue Jackets, but only at home. Their road numbers are atrocious. They do not score at the same level. It's night and day. Zach Werenski, when he's at home, unstoppable. If they played 82 games at home, Columbus probably wins the Stanley Cup at some point. That's how dominant they are on home ice. They generate scoring chances. They generate shots. But the minute they leave nationwide, they're not the same team. They don't. It's just I don't know why. I don't know why it's that dramatic. It's that drastic. So
5-12-3 away from home this year, which puts them out. Teams that also have similar records to that: Nashville, San Jose, and Chicago are on the road. That's not a group you want to be lumped in with.
Yeah, and again, great numbers at home, man. When you have Columbus at home, you can smash a lot of the over metrics. You can probably smash them to win. Their goal total. Werenski he has 100 shots on goal only at home, and I think he's played 20 some odd games. So he's cooking. But the minute they leave, downhill. You cannot be competitive if you're not at least 500 on the road. You got to be 500 on the road, 600 at home to be a middle of the pack kind of playoff team. To me, that's the minimum.
And even if you're not 500 on the road, you have to be flirting with it at a minimum. Flirt with it.
475. That's it. If you're lower than that, we're in trouble. We're not doing a good job.
The teams I mentioned, it's as bad as things have been for the Rangers. They're 10-11 on the road. They're 8-9-2 at home. That's unacceptable, but they're doing the road part, right? At least. If
you're in a group with Nashville and San Jose this year, it's a problem.
And Chicago.
And Chicago, you can be in a group with them every year, and that's a problem. But if you're in a group with those teams right now, it's not good. You got to find a way to remove yourself from that conversation. Don't associate yourself with that kind of mediocrity.
As bad as Chicago's been on the road, they're 9-11 at home. So that's the thing. If you're a bad team, you go 500 at home. Good teams need to go over 500 at home.
You have to win hockey games at home, man. You can't let opposing teams come in and dominate you, which, again, the Blue Jackets do well. But when they leave, it's like they don't exist.
Maybe take the chef on the road with them. I don't know. Something's got to give there. But
take the pillow. I don't know, man. Whatever they need, bring it. Just, take it with you.
Maybe it's a robe you have at home. I don't know, but whatever it is,
it can't just be the matchup. It can't just be they don't have home ice advantage. They don't have the last change. It can't be that drastic.
Maybe for a team like Columbus, that's what it comes down to a degree. But we've been taking a lot of the Eastern Conference look here. Maybe we'll do some Western Conference stuff next week. We'll look at some of that playoff positioning here as we get into January here. And don't forget, we'll have a little Four Nations face-off preview. We've already gone through the rosters, but we'll do a proper preview here in the coming weeks as well. So there we go. Let's get that off the screen here. Now let's do a little fantasy focus here. And this week we're gonna talk about a Yaroslav Askarov trade that I made it's a keeper league. It's not full-blown dynasty. For that league, it's a you get to keep 2 players every year, regardless. You can keep them as long as you want. But you can there's 1 goalie's allowed to be kept. You can't keep 2. That's one of the only stipulations there. You get this up on the screen. Get my team up there. Go. Get the background changed here as you get to watch me go through all this stuff here as we get ready to rock. And then let's get a fan. For the trade that was made, let's bring up the transaction screen. And by the way, we also have to check in here with our buddy Marek, who's also saying hi. Always love, we get the same group every week here, and we love it. I appreciate you guys watching here. So we go through the transaction list for this week. Let's scroll down, and there it is. So now understand that because Yahoo assigns the first 2 rounds as keeper rounds, it says round 4 there, but that's actually going to end up being your 2nd round pick because the keepers take the first 2 rounds. I send a 10th round pick back. So there's it is there. Askarov for Kemper. We swap picks there because Yahoo, you have to make trades in a keeper league. So he gets a 2nd round pick for an 8th round pick. I may have jumped the gun a little bit early. I didn't want to spend the 1st round pick on him, but in a league where I'm allowed to keep 1 goalie and 1 skater every year, I have Celebrini. And if you look at the rest of my roster, there's other guys that can absolutely qualify as keepers for next year. You're looking at Brady Tkachuk, looking at Nico Hischier. Those are 2 obvious ones. Goaltending, yes, I could keep Markstrom, but I'm more about I'm not necessarily about winning this year in this league. I'm just trying to make sure I have a core to build off of forever, and I'm not forced into taking a goalie in the next round. And if I got Celebrini and Askarov now. If things keep trending in that direction, I think I'll be all right for a while.
Yeah, I can live with that. I feel like, if you're going to get Askarov, I mean, trading Darcy Kemper and getting the value that you can for him, I don't know if he's going to be that elite for the rest of his career, mainly because he has a hard time staying healthy. So I think the question now is, Askarov is a good goalie. He's just on a terrible team. So, how many games are the San Jose Sharks going to be willing to give him? And can this team support him? Because then what's going to happen is he's going to suffer from what I like to call the Carey Price effect, which is elite goalie, miserable hockey team, right? So he's on most, he may not get the wins and all that stuff that you're looking for. The outline numbers may not be as good as they should, but I mean, it's his spot. I would like to see him stay in the NHL, finish out the second half, maybe 50-50 split the rest of the way. That's what I feel like he should be getting. Nowhere more than that. You don't have to give him the bulk of the stars because you don't want him to go out there and get smashed, right? But you can give him some tough matchups and see how he responds.
Now, the issue that they're going to have is Vitek Vanacek is still out week to week after, dealing with, I believe, a cheek injury. He got a skate or he got hit with an errant puck while sitting on the bench. That's what happened. So who knows when he comes back, you have Blackwood, you have Vanacek. Now, obviously, neither of those guys are long-term solutions, but Askarov's the only one you can send back down without there being any waiver issues. So, and listen, we're not looking to rush the guy, but I mean, when he played as well as he did, you could see there on the screen against, 2 of the top teams in the East, and in 3 days, he beat the Devils, he beat the Lightning, only gave up 3 goals total in those 2 games, looked very good. But, he brings the right attitude. He's excited. He's a fun-loving guy. So I think, sometimes you worry about the goalies, they say goalies have a fragile mind at that age, and you could take a top prospect and ruin them if you put him out there behind a bad team. I believe that to a certain degree. I think he's got a little immune to that though. I think he's got the right, his attitude. I don't think that would affect him as much because he wanted out of Nashville because he's he was expecting to maybe be one of the next in line. Sees UC Saros getting an 8-year contract and it's all right, well, I'm not sitting here for 8 years. So he gets what he wants. I think he's happy to be in San Jose. On the flip side of that, I think he's so happy to just have the situation he has in the future in front of him. If you told him, all right, you got to go back to the Barracuda, he's going to be like, okay. He is representing the Barracuda in the AHL All-Star game for whatever that's worth.
All of that is true. Here's what I hope doesn't happen to him. You don't want to get into that 3 goalie rotation, because
Correct.
that doesn't help anybody. So if that's what you're going to do, then yes, you send them back down. You say, hey man, just like play a whole bunch of hockey. You know what I mean? And can't imagine the Barracuda being too terrible since he's there. I at the same time, like I want to get him the exposure to the NHL. So like, is Vanacek a long-term solution? Is Alexander Gorgiev a long-term solution? No. Like,
No.
neither one of those goalies are a long-term solution. So maybe you just send one down, like, you put one on waivers. Like, what if you put Gorgiev on waivers? Like, I can't imagine a team signing up. And maybe he doesn't like it. But you know what? His numbers stink. So at the end of the day, you say, hey, this is of your own doing, right? You had the most wins last year and you were a fraud. So I like, at some point, I guess Greer's got to take the decision and say, hey, how, like, do I want this guy to play? Like, do I want him to play? Do I want him to see those opportunities on a team that's going to struggle? And if he doesn't want to rock that boat, fine. You send him back down, you let him play. I just don't want him to sit around. So play somewhere, either in the NHL as a 50-50 split or like 75% of the games in the AHL. Doesn't matter which one, but he's got to play somewhere. And yes, if you're in a keeper league, probably best to invest in him now, because I only think that he makes San Jose better. Also, if the San Jose Sharks are going to try to unintentionally tank, they would probably want to start Gorgiev a lot. So that's probably the guy who needs to play the most. If you're hoping to get another good pick, right? Like, you don't want to waste this year, right? Don't go out there and start winning some games because your goalie's good. You know what I mean? Like, don't be bad here.
And that's the thing too. You'll know what direction the Sharks are going based on how they handle their goalie play down the stretch. If they send Askarov back down and it's basically, alternating Georgiev and Vanacek when he's ready to go, they're still trying to get a nice draft pick. But when Vanacek is ready to come back, maybe the timing works out that somebody sustains a goaltending injury. And listen, your value for Vanacek or Georgiev is not much. Maybe you get a 6th round pick. Maybe you get a 7th round pick for one of them, because the team's panicked for a goalie. And then situation resolved. Like you said, Askarov and whoever's left plays a 50-50 split, done and done. And then next year, Askarov becomes your true number one. I think that's a nice way to go. But like you said, it cannot be the 3-headed monster. That is the absolute worst case. And I don't think Greer is going to do that. I think Greer knows it's just, maybe you do a 3-headed monster for certain situations, but not when 2 of them or Georgiev and Vanacek.
Both those, by the way, Georgiev and Vanacek, both of them UFAs at the end of the year. So I care even less about what they think. 2, you could probably, like, this is where I wish the Arizona Coyotes existed still. So you can just dump off a player somewhere else when you don't want them. Now we don't have a dumping ground for, contracts and players that we don't want. But like, maybe there's a team that needs Vanacek somewhere, or like maybe Georgiev. I don't know. Some team that needs like a backup or something, somebody to sit there and warm the bench. Maybe San Jose can retain like 70% of the money to make this deal work. And I don't know, get a late round pick. If that's the route that you want to go with Askarov, again, you need him to play. And maybe the health of Vanacek makes that a little bit more complicated, because like, if he's not healthy, well then, you know what I mean? Then you're just throwing Askarov literally to the Sharks, right? No pun intended.
You don't want to treat him like chum. That's not how you want to
treat him. You don't want to throw him out there and have to get, swatted every night. So, I mean, it's tough, but if you're just rolling out Georgiev and Vanacek, you're basically telling the team that we're focusing on next year, as the Sharks probably should anyways. So you get a better pick, and then maybe next year you try to take a step and you let one of those guys go, and then you roll Askarov maybe in a, like I said, 50-50 split, see what he can give, see if he can handle that load.
One thing I will say about this league too is this is a 14-team league. So you got 2 goalie slots in a 14-team league. You do the math. That's 28 starting goalies off the board immediately. So people hoard goalies in this league too. So I'm thinking I got in at a good time here. I've got my goaltender of the future, and I'm not worried about this year. I think I still have a decent enough team that I could sneak into the playoffs maybe, and whatever happens. But I'm focused on building this team, it's this keeper league's been going. I gotta say, what, 12 years? I want to say, if not longer. I have yet to win this league. I've been a bridesmaid one too many times. It's time to correct that, and I think I'm setting myself up to do that in maybe 2 years.
All right, make it. I mean, hey, look, your rebuild sounds like it works, unlike for some teams.
Which teams would that be? Just to clarify here.
I mean, I was going to throw the Anaheim Ducks under there because that team feels like they're rebuilding just all the time.
Maybe they're the new Arizona Coyotes. Maybe they're going to become the new dumping ground.
Maybe.
I mean, if you want to talk about dumping ground candidates, they would be an ideal one.
We need a dumping ground for bad contracts and players that we don't want. It used to be Arizona. I mean, so now somebody's got to step up and be that organization where you just send players when you don't want them and see if somebody will, take on some, like, a third party money grab. You know what I mean? Just go here. That's it.
Maybe they treat it like, HBO treats Hard Knocks and the NFL. We're like, okay, because you did it last year, you don't have to do it for X amount of years, but now there's a pool of teams you get to pick from. You can pick, like, okay, you're going to be the dumping ground team for 3 years, and then when your time's up, we'll pick another team to be like, maybe everybody's got to do their turn.
Maybe
Calgary would be a good one to, be a dumping ground till the new building's ready.
Here's the problem, though. You need a dumping ground where that players are willing to go and move their no trade clause. So I'm not going Columbus can't be a dumping ground because we've seen multiple players not want to go to Columbus and not waive their no trade. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm going to a terrible team, I mean, if I'm going to Orange County, I mean, I look, my team is terrible, but the beach is nice, so it makes it less bad.
And if you get sent down, you go to San Diego, which is like an hour and change away.
Right, which is not bad.
Doesn't suck.
Right? Like, you can't go to Calgary. I know, like, Chris Pronger played in Edmonton, but his wife wasn't really a fan of Alberta and the cold. So where do they end up? In Anaheim? Because I would probably waive my no trade clause to go waste away in Anaheim and get paid. So why not? You know what I mean? You need a dumping ground where at least it's warm, the weather's nice. Maybe if it's not nice, a state that has no income tax, you know what I mean? No state tax. Maybe that can help, soften the blow for some players, right? Maybe Nashville, when they figure out they're not competitive. Like, it's Nashville, but at least you keep more of your money.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Nashville wasn't expected to be a dumping ground, but now they're a prime candidate. Let's bring up our league for a quick update here before we get to TMP and say farewell. So there we go. Current matchup this week. The top two teams in the league, Chris and myself, battling here. He's got a pretty good lead out of the gate. Looking at these categories, some of these are going to be tough for me to make up. Others, the goaltending's where it's going to come down to, because it kind of seems like the offensive categories you've got locked up, and then whichever ones I've got locked up, this is what it's going to come down to right here.
Probably. Big shout out to Alexis Lafreniere, who has done a pretty decent job this week.
2 goals.
Hey, look, I thanks, Ant, for just gifting me here. I said it last week. One man's trash is another man's treasure, and my treasure is Alexis Lafreniere. Now, whether he keeps this pace up, I don't know. But he provided some value, and that's all we need here. He's just keep going.
And like we said on last week's Total Hockey Now, now's the time to buy low on him.
You still have a window. It's still a small window, but it's closing. So go get it.
So we got a couple shutouts going currently. Chris Wassel all over Josh Wagner. And like we said, when a kid comes and you're up all hours of the night, it actually makes you better at fantasy. And here he is with an 11-0 lead. Granted, it's an 11th place team, but he says he's got to make moves to come back, and an 11-0 win in this format would be big. We got Silver Fox here. He's got a lead over Ant's brother. Gene has got a slight lead on Max Knight here. He checked in earlier, and then Andrew Dewhurst and Wally. Andrew Dewhurst got a 3 category lead there over him. Now, let's see what transactions this week. So there we go. Bowen Byram back in the mix there. Somebody grabbed Trent Miner. Surprised. I'm not surprised to see you pick him up. I was a little. I should have picked up Jackson Lacombe. I picked him up in a couple other leagues, and I was a little late to the party on him here, I guess.
I needed a goalie, so I figured like I took Samsonov. Which Samsonov has been playing well. Like hindsight being 2020, I probably hold on to Samsonov a little bit longer, but I'm not too worried about it. I got 2 studs, and then I just need Dobes to just show up every once in a while. That'd be kind of good. I just need to make sure I hit the minimum starts. So there you go. I got the workhorses. I mean, Connor Hellebuck doesn't take a night off. Stuart Skinner is on a good team, and he's playing well. So I can get the most of my starts there. I just need Dobes to come in every once in a while. Good matchup. And again, if he starts playing better, he's going to get some starts. He's going to get them. He has earned them.
Yeah, I could see Montreal not to say go with like a true split, but definitely try and balance out the work share a little bit there while he's playing well. I mean, why not? If you are going to the playoffs, you want Montembeault fresh. So there you go. So take a look at that. I'm all right with my team as is right now. I mean, there is a trade discussion happening here. I'm not going to give any specifics because I'm trying to. Oh, Josh Morrissey's off the IR. Plus, I got to get him back in the lineup here. We'll figure that out. But nonetheless, we'll see what happens here. And any big activity that happens, we'll tell you next week, as we always do. Now, what about the Buffalo Sabres as a dumping ground? But that also doesn't really work for Chris's destination clause, where like
there's no way you're going. There's no way you're going to Buffalo. And it's cold, and you got to pay state taxes? No, you're not going there.
Some of the biggest state taxes in the country.
I mean, Buffalo is just not. Buffalo is second to Columbus. I've not like Buffalo. You know my feelings about the city. That team deserves better. That city is just like there's nothing to do in Buffalo. Not a single thing.
I'm a little kinder to Buffalo than you are. I think and I went in the winter, but I also was like, I went to Niagara Falls. I went to a Sabres game. I went to, what's his name's, bread and breakfast over there by St. Catharines. Marcel Dion, Blue Line Cafe. Love that place.
I went to TGIFs there.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't know if it still looks like the way it did, but like he had like a little he had like a shop that was like memorabilia to look at, but also stuff for sale. It was really cool. And like, he's just sitting there, like sitting at a table with people BSing, and it's like, oh, there's NHL legend Marcel Dion.
I hear Buffalo has good like wings, so maybe I go back and I try. I think they have a spot, but the rest of that city, I could care less. I can't imagine a player waking up and then being told, "Hey, you're being traded to Buffalo," and going, "Yay."
I mean, Patrick Kane, that's his hometown, and he had every chance to go back there after his Blackhawks tenure was up, and he said, I'm going to go to Detroit, and I understand there's more appeal than original 6 team, the Motor City, all that stuff. But I mean,
he's close enough. He's close enough to home.
It's close enough to home without actually being home. And then State of Rival saying Peel Pub in Buffalo, maybe a place to go there.
There's a Peel Pub in Montreal as well, too, by the way. Maybe I take
no idea what Peel Pub is, but apparently it is a chain. So
okay.
All right.
Maybe I take Gene to Peel Pub. It's right next to the arena too. It's not far. It's right on you'll never believe this, on Peel, the street.
That's 2 on the nose. That can't happen. All right. It's time for a little TMP here. No Ant pick this week, just 2 picks from myself and Chris. You were talking about Zach Werenski at home earlier. So why don't you explain this one? Zach Werenski, 5+ shots on goal.
I feel like we don't talk about like player props enough. So I mean, Zach Werenski at home is a beast, and no Monahan means that the offense is going to need to come from somewhere else. And it's not that I necessarily like their matchup. It's just Zach Werenski at home. He had 1 game, I think, last week where he had 11 shots on goal. Like that's not normal for a defenseman. He is at that pace. He is averaging over 4.5 shots on goal at home. So it's not absurd. I think his total is set at 3.5 in most places from -110. But I'm like, an extra shot here and there, Zach Werenski can do it. So if I'm getting +205 for it, I'll take it.
And here's the argument I'll make for that. No Sean Monahan, right? So you don't have that straw stirring the drink offensively, getting plays going, which means Werenski's going to end up driving even more from the back end. And I'm sure there's going to be a couple of times he brings it down, doesn't have a good pass. Screw it. I'm going to throw it on net. There's a shot on goal. You probably get 1 or 2 of those tonight.
As he should. Just hammer it, buddy. Just hammer it. Same thing on the power play. Let him hammer it.
He is their best. Let's see. Duff's in Buffalo there. That's what I'm talking about. Peel Pub in Montreal. Duff's is in Buffalo. Okay.
Duff's. Okay. Let me write this down for that one time I'll go back to Buffalo just for Duff's.
Duff's. I wonder if it's owned by Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses. Probably not, because he lives in Seattle. But yeah, I like that play there. Zach Werenski, 5+ shots on goal. Besides Marchenko and Fantilli to a degree, those are your three guys that are going to be generating offense there for the Blue Jackets. Now, I'm going to go, Anthony likes the totals, so I feel like I got to fill the void here in that regard. I'm going Edmonton-Pittsburgh over 6.5 minus 105 here. Going with that for a couple of reasons. First of all, what did I write down here? Edmonton's been scoring 3 to 4 goals a game. Pittsburgh has been giving up about the same and scoring 2 to 3 of their own per game. So numbers are right there. I have a feeling this is going to turn into a track meet. Maybe I need the empty netter, but I mean, you look at Nedeljkovic, who has a 3.22 goals against, 888 save percentage in 17 games this season. He allowed 4 goals his last outing. He's just in Pittsburgh has lost is 0-3 in their last 4. So I see this as maybe a 5-2 kind of game. So I'll take my chances there that this turns into a little bit of a track meet. Give me the over at minus 105 is pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I can't imagine a real strong defensive battle in Pittsburgh, not with the way they play hockey and the amount of shots they give up. So just Edmonton's going to have to do most of the work here, though. They probably got to put up at least 4 for this to even be close.
I only need 2 from Pittsburgh. I think Edmonton can get to 5. You got a 4-2 lead. That empty netter's happening. So,
yeah, you might need the empty netter. Best case scenario, it's 3-3 after 2. You know what I mean? One of those things. Then you're in a good spot here going into the third, where it can open up. But I'm with you here. I'm not betting on any of these goalies to have a strong game.
Because I gave this pick out, it'll be a 2-1 final, and all those goals will come in the third period when I know I'm dead by the second intermission. That is how that's going to go down.
Absolutely. That makes total sense.
I mean, that's what usually happens here. But hey, we try to help. We try to make you some fantasy help. Try to make you some money, all that good stuff. Now, before we get out of here, Chris, Slapshot podcast this week. What do we got going on?
Yes, new episode will come out tomorrow. I'm going to try to do a lot better at Puck Doku. It was not good. If you didn't watch it, it's okay. I had quit the Puck Doku. I got the first one wrong, and then I could not recover. And then when I saw the answers, I was like, oh yes, Chris Pronger did play in Anaheim. One of those things where you're just like, you forget that some players have played somewhere. But yes, we have a lot of stuff to get to, and I'm hoping I can rebound from a tough start. It was not good.
Have you ever rage quit on when you get mad at a video game and you just slam the control? Yeah, so you're gonna rage quit on Puck Doku? Are we gonna see just end the stream one day? I've had it, it's enough.
Here's the thing. I thought it was Minnesota and Columbus, and I thought that defenseman that they traded for, Yaroslav, I thought he had made a debut. I thought he played already one game in Minnesota.
I get burned by that sometimes too.
He didn't. He's making his debut tonight. He's a week late. But I was so convinced that he did. That he was called up and he had played a game and he didn't. And I was just tilted from the
Now I'm trying to think of a Wild / Red Wing off the top of my head here.
It's tough. And then you go back and when you see the answers, you're like, what? You know what the worst part is? I had done a really good job. I had got a couple of 2%, a couple of 1%, a couple of those guys, you're just like, oh yeah. But the rest of it was just terrible. And that's, it is what it is.
Hopefully that goes better for you this week. Don't know what's going on with Subway to Shea with Ant's current schedule, but any sort of Mets or hot stove stuff, that's where you need to go, at Subway to Shea. And then this week on Rip and Riff, Jared and I do a complete breakdown of the divisional round that came out on Monday. So go check that out. We will rip plenty of football, do a little hockey as well. The hockey pack's the show actually this week. The football packs were hockey pack, good stuff. That's how we like to do it there.
I was told that the New Jersey Devils may be interested in Jake Evans, so I'm really hoping that the Devils trade a first-round pick because now I just want to see Jared eat a hat.
I was made aware of the eating hat bet, and I told Jared, my recommendations, if you do need to eat one, would be a barbecue sauce, a honey mustard, something that's really going to distract from the blandness of the cotton polyester blend. I don't even know what they put in the brims, but that's going to be chewy. That's going to be a tough one there.
Good luck to him.
Good luck. We'll see. See if Jake Evans fetches a first at the deadline. But hey, maybe Montreal's not. Maybe they're buying instead of selling, so maybe it's a moot point. But for at Fuzzy Chris 91 over there, I am at Pucking Thoughts Adam Bernard. Back with you next Tuesday with an all-new episode of Total Hockey Now, episode 75 on the Total Hockey Now YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in.